Hey, folks, this is Rabble Rousing Rich Bergeron.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Tornado Tony Pennicamp.
Tom.
I didn't hear anything.
We lose you, Tom?
No, you didn't heard anything.
You're supposed to introduce yourself. Did you forget how to do the show?
Here. Okay. Well, I couldn't hear for a minute. Yes, and Psychic Tom Paget, ready to go for the big weekend coming up.
All right.
Yeah,
Yes.
got some fights this weekend, very exciting. Well, let me start off with my conspiracy theory.
All right.
So last week, I'm over my friend's house last week, and we're discussing his bachelor party, which was supposed to be in 7 days in Las Vegas. The groom does not want to go. His reasoning, which is understandable, is it's a mandatory quarantine if you come back from certain states, and he can't work. I can work from home. The other guy, he works basically as a landscaper, so he doesn't come in contact with people. But it's, the groom-to-be works on an electrical crew, so he wouldn't be able to go. Okay, we appreciate that. They're not coming up with other ideas. This is Saturday night. And so we're like, what should we do? What should we do? And I said, well, here's an idea. If we don't go to Vegas, maybe the weekend of September 12th, we'll all go out to dinner. Go out and have a nice dinner, steak dinner, lobster, whatever. And then we'll come back to somebody's house. And we'll watch the Tyson Jones fight. And everybody goes, wow, that's a really good idea. And the one guy goes, I work for an IT company. I can get a big screen, and if the weather's nice, we can sit outside and watch it on like a big, almost like a drive-in movie theater type of thing, outside. Well, sounds great.
Who would have thought drive-ins would come back?
Yeah.
Anyway, keep going. Who would have thought drive-ins would come back?
Yeah, really.
Everybody wants one in their town.
The very next day, Tyson Roy Jones postponed. So the one guy, I talked to him, he goes, well, we can always do the fight. I'm like, no, we can't. It got postponed. Why? Well, I said, I don't know. I'm not the one making the decision. But then it starts rattling through my little brain. And they're saying, okay, we're going to postpone to November 28th because it gives us more time to build it up. I don't think this fight needs any build-up. It gives more time for the guys to get ready because they haven't fought in so long, especially Tyson. Okay, but then I'm thinking, no. First of all, November 28th is after the election. Like a good 4 weeks after the election.
Right.
That's one thing. Then, I'm like, as more as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, look at this. Russia has already come out with a vaccine without even testing. They're like, okay, we're just going to start shooting people up with this shit and hope for the best.
It's 90% vodka.
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
Yeah. Now, the U.S. is in phase clinical 3 trials with 2 different vaccines, and they're thinking they could have something out there around Thanksgiving if everything goes well, right?
Yeah.
100 million doses, which could, theoretically, if you have to use the shot twice, treat a sixth of the country, which would be your high, risk populations. So now my thought process is Russia's got a vaccine. If a lot of this is a political ploy for the election will be over. Whether it's the way they want it or the way they don't want it, it'll still be over. And then I'm like, if we're on the cusp of starting a distribution for a vaccine, they could turn around and say, hey, we can have fans there now.
Yeah. Tickets will sell out overnight.
Theory.
Yeah, you could be right there. Maybe they could give it the go-ahead sometime in November, and then bam. But, I'm not sure. It's going to be a very tough one for the live show deal. The New Hampshire governor actually just made it mandatory for masks in anywhere where there's crowds over 100 people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when we were discussing last week, we were over, our one friend's house, and then we went to the Italian festival, and you could see the group was like, shit, we're like 13 days away from leaving at the time, and we kind of figured he was going to get cold feet anyway.
Right.
Even if this wasn't going on, we figured we were going to have to like drag him there and babysit him the whole time. I'm being honest. Like when we went to Atlantic City 8 years ago for my friend Mike's bachelor party, we were all at a bar at the one casino, and we were staying at the Trump Plaza, like 2 casinos down. He's like, "Hey, somebody going to walk me back to the room?" And my friend's like, "Well, if I walk you back, then I got to walk back to the bar by myself." Yeah, but I don't want to walk back. I don't want to walk to the room by myself. He's like, "But then I got to walk myself."
Mm-hmm.
You know, I at one point was walking down the boardwalk at 3 a.m, and I came up with a group of about 50 strangers doing the Cupid Shuffle. I joined them.
Nice. Well, yeah, it's going to be one of those things. It's going to take like 5 years for people to start living normally again. So the live events is going to be tough.
I'm not that pessimistic, Rick. I'm totally honest. I'm not going to be that pessimistic, and maybe just I have a fighter's mentality where it's like, I could be anything, and sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. I don't think it'll be 5 years. I think obviously after November 3rd happens, whether it's the way they want it or the way they don't want it, that's going to change some things because they're going to be like, oh, say Trump, say he loses, they're like, oh my God, we were able to hurt him enough with this that we can, we got it, now we don't care anymore. We can, limit propaganda.
Right.
Or if he wins, they're like, yeah, we tried this and that failed too. We tried an impeachment. We tried this. We tried that. We can't get rid of the guy. Okay. And I just want to accept it, which they'll never do, but,
Well, I will, honestly say something that I probably, I see the writing on the wall for it. If Trump does not get reelected, he will probably be indicted by the people in New York that are after him. But if he gets to be president again, they're pretty much fucked with whatever they're trying to do against him. So I think that gives him a little bit more of a pep in his step to get the job done. But honestly, I think he doesn't even want it at this point. He's just so sick of being hated 24/7. I think he would actually be happy to just be done with it.
At the same time, he's the type of guy that, like, he is such like an in-your-face type of guy, and he could be a guy. Like,
he would be so insulted by it. Yeah, his ego would take a blow. But I mean, at the same time, he's got to be so frustrated by it.
The hatred will never stop.
Yeah.
Even if he walks away and says, "I'm done. I'm sorry," the hatred will never stop.
Never.
He will be made an example. Don't anyone outside of our club try this again, ever.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay.
Oh, it's unreal. Unreal, yes. CNN was actually pissed the other day. I saw that they were trying to cover a rally of his, and there was like 5 minutes before they went to the feed live, the woman was looking at it, the anchor, and she saw that people weren't wearing masks. So then they went back to the live feed when they were ready, and everybody was wearing masks suddenly, and she was pissed. She was like asking the guy that was there, "Were those people wearing masks 5 minutes ago?" She was going nuts. Like, they could not do their narrative because people at the Trump rally were all masked up all of a sudden. It was funny.
I mean, I get part of my argument on everything is like, okay, they were having this thing up at Sturgis, and oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. This is blah 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 blah, or all these Trump people blah blah. But then if a protest or a riot happened and those people are ripping masks off to yell and scream, that's not a problem. That bothers me.
Yeah, somebody asked him, I guess, at one of his rallies, I don't know if it was the same one, about, why aren't people social distancing? And he goes, "It's a peaceful protest."
I heard that.
The line's already been used. But anyway, we got lots of fights to talk about. Lots of heavyweight knockouts. We had the Beast, Derek Lewis, Denied Alexei Olenek his 60th win at UFC Fight Night 174 last Saturday in Vegas. The Beast improves to 25-7. Alexei falls to 59-15 with one draw. That was in the second round. He knocked him out 21 seconds in. I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I saw the highlights of the post-fight show. As soon as Derek Lewis put the headphones on, he didn't realize he was already being mic'd, and he says, "I got to take a shit."
That's great.
And of course,
that fight was an example of physicality overcoming technique.
Right.
Because you always want to have great technique, and technique can sometimes win, but Olenek had a 40-pound weight disadvantage. I thought he won the first round, but Lewis fought the choke off. And the second round, it just became just pure physicality.
Right. And Lewis is
just
actually
ragdolled him.
Lewis is actually committed to losing more weight. He wants to be walking around at the heavyweight weight or lower. He doesn't want to have to be cutting down to that weight anymore, he says. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does that. He follows through. But anyway, yeah, Olenek is an old soul there in the UFC. He's been around a lot of other organizations too. But it was interesting to see Lewis actually go to the ground with him willingly. That was the thing that I read about. I didn't actually see it, but a lot of people were amazed by that, and he was able to survive and get out of that choke.
Well, some of it was willing. Some of it was not willing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that was the big surprise in the media. Weidman put it back together. Chris Weidman in the co-main event over Amari Akhmedov. Got a unanimous decision there. How'd that one go, Tom? I didn't get to see that one either.
Well, it just looked like something's missing. But Weidman's he really struggled.
Yeah.
He really had to struggle. And when Weidman was in his prime, he looked altogether different. I don't know. I mean, I wish him all the best. I really like the guy, but it's just I don't see him getting his belt back, based on what I've seen.
Alrighty then, there you have it from Psychic Tom. Predictions. We predicted it here first through Tom. We saw it in this crystal ball.
That's it.
It's happening. Chris Weidman, pack your bags, dude. It's over. I don't know. We won't tell him that if we ever have him on the show, Tom. Okay.
Well, I hope he has good success.
Yeah.
But it just was not. In fact, he's even left New York. He's sitting down, I guess, with Wonder Boy. Wonder Boy's part of the world down in South Carolina.
Oh, really?
So I don't know if he's still.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. So I guess he's looking for a whole new change of pace. And sometimes maybe making a big switch is good, but sometimes it's not.
Right. You also had Darren Stewart taken out Maki Pitolo by a guillotine choke. 3 minutes and 41 seconds into round one. Female fight, Iana Kunitskaya over Julia Stoliarenko. That was a unanimous decision. Benil Dariush, probably the knockout of the night if they still had it, but, definitely he probably got some kind of bonus for this. He nailed a spinning back fist on Scott Holtzman with just 22 seconds left in the first round. And that was it for Holtzman. Knockout. I didn't even get to see the highlights of this one. But, yeah, definitely made some waves around town. Tim Means back in the win column over Laureano Staropoli by unanimous decision. Another knockout by Kevin Holland over Joaquin Buckley. That took all the way to the third round, 43 seconds in to that one. And then Nasparat Hakparast over Alex Munoz by unanimous decision. Fourth fight of the night, Andrew Sanchez over Wellington Turman. got knocked out. Did not come to the fight with a good fighting name. Wellington. 4 minutes and 14 seconds into the first round from punches. Gavin Tucker, third fight of the night over Justin James. He won by rear naked choke. 1 minute and 43 seconds into the third round. Yusuf Zalai over Peter Barrett by UD. And Erwin Rivera over Ali Al-Kazi by split decision. And yeah, we didn't mention the reason you talked about the Tyson fight being moved, but the actual published reason is to get more people the chance to purchase the pay-per-view. They basically want to make more money off of it.
Yeah.
And apparently Tyson has now promised to give the money to COVID relief. It's kind of crazy.
And I once again think that's great. I just am part of that conspiracy theory that I think they're angling for the possibility of having live fans.
Or they're giving Tyson time to let the drugs go out of his system.
Well, and maybe that too.
I don't know if he's even drug tested for this, though, if it's an exhibition. Who knows? It's crazy stuff. He's trash-talking already, though. I mean, he knows something we don't. He's like, yeah, I got some spies around Roy Jones. I know he's slipping. Now's the time. I don't know. He just seems overly confident to me with some of the stuff that he's saying. And they keep coming out with new clips of him looking ripped and ready to go. So, November 28th. Changing the date to November 28th. This is what Mike himself said. Will give more people the opportunity to see the biggest comeback in boxing history.
And take, read between the lines there. Give more people, right?
Yeah.
Because maybe people can be there in person.
Yeah, possibly.
And like I said, the reason I'm saying that, I have no evidence to back this up. My reasoning behind this is, that it's speculation, but, there's so many things that are, like, moving factors right here. You have, a virus that's scary, but also political. There's a big political happening in early November. You have a potential vaccine, this horrible thing. So it's like, okay, even if that's available to only your at-risk population, so you'd say, for example, maybe my parents get it, a bunch of people that work in medical places get it, your elderly get it, So then that way, it's like for people like me, it's like, okay, if you get it, you'll live. And I'm like, okay. if you get the disease, you can fit it up where these other people can't. But now that makes it where our at-risk population is less at risk.
Right.
And then with your anti-vaxxers, and hey, that's on them, right? It's like, well, you know what? If you get it, you're at less of a risk of contaminating the people that are at risk because they've gotten the vaccine.
Yeah.
So I just, it's in my mind right now. It's a lot of it's a conspiracy theory, and that's why this fight's getting postponed. Yeah,
well, we ought to have Patricia back on the show. She unfortunately lost her hearing about CD that they withheld some information on. And the judge came back and said, it was already filed, so it doesn't need to be filed again. Even though it's missing so much stuff. Obviously, you have missing pages. So, one of the big testing companies that's behind the COVID tests, and not always accurate COVID tests, is Quest Diagnostics, the same one that she was talking about did Tommy's test. So, yeah. She's been posting all kinds of good stuff. But it just sounds like this crazy court battle that she's dealt with over the whole thing. It's just more of the machine covering its tracks, and more of these people that have been hiding the real truth about AIDS and all of that drugs and treatments for a long time. Whereas you might find out, I think the biggest story in that, I've been trying to figure out how to write this story about Tommy Morrison and not be labeled a tinfoil hat guy. And you just kind of have to explore all sides. You don't have to pin yourself to one or the other, but the one that makes the most sense to me is that it was naturally able to be beaten. You could boost your immune system to beat it. And if Tommy ever even had it, he beat it. He got rid of it. So that explains everything to me. But anyway, kind of going off on a tangent there. But it's kind of the same thing, the way they put the fear out there on AIDS. They're doing the same thing with this, and Fauci has ties to AIDS too, so it makes a lot of sense why they would do that. And to get rid of live events too, and have Bill Gates out here saying all this stuff, that feeds into him selling equipment and stuff to get us online, everybody online all the time, and that's just dumbing us down more. So just looking at pictures half the time. Crazy links. I waste so much time on my phone. It's ridiculous. I never used to do that before. Now it's all the time.
Oh my God! It's like I get magazines now. I prefer to read them because I'm always sticking around on my phone. I'm at work. Those are right there. Yeah, I'm bad. But and really, but it helps me relax a little bit because I'm so high strung that as long as I stay away from people's stupid shit, I'll sit there and I'll actually, when I lay down at night, I'll have the TV on and I'll have my phone in my hand and I'll be looking at whatever, and I might be talking to people, and then that way I'm not thinking. I'm either concentrating on the show or looking at my phone, and then finally I put the phone down, close my eyes, and go to sleep. That way I'm not thinking.
Right. Well, I don't know if it had anything to do with coronavirus, but he was 81 years old. Wilbert Skeeter McClure recently died last week.
Yeah.
81 years old. Won a gold medal for the United States in the light middleweight division at the 1960 Olympics. Turned pro in 1961 and won.
He was Muhammad Ali.
Won the first 14 fights. Then he went in tough twice against Luis Rodriguez. Lost both times in those tough fights. And had a draw against Reuben Hurricane Carter. Retired with a record of 24-8-1.
We saw him at the Marciano dedication.
Yep.
I got a photo of him up close.
Skeeter McClure.
Yeah.
He was Muhammad Ali's roommate at the Olympics. He also earned a doctorate degree in psychology. It's just kind of crazy for a boxer who is notoriously, looked upon, let's say, as being dumb because he gets hit in the head a lot. And he goes into psychotherapy. That's interesting to me. But it was Massachusetts too, so he had a connection there to my home state. But yeah, it's just crazy. Unbelievable life, and long one. 81 years old. That's pretty long these days. But yeah, sad to hear about that.
And I'll tell you the one we lost in the combat sports and the entertainment field was James Harris, better known as
Kamala,
Ugandan headhunter. WWE, WCW wrestler for since the late 70s. And
that's so weird.
He's been in declining health for about 15 years.
That's so weird that Joe Biden picks Kamala Harris as his running mate, and that guy dies at the same time.
Yeah.
What the hell are the odds of that?
I mean, well, and of course, people are, a lot of the spoofs they're doing is they were doing, because his last name was Harris. His name was James Harris. They call him Kamala. but they were doing like Joe Biden, and then they were either doing his face over like Kamala's like manager, and then the wrestler standing there, so they were making it like, oh, it's Joe Biden and Kamala. So of course that's a spoof. What pissed me off is I was trying to watch some tribute videos on him, but you couldn't put in Kamala in the YouTube search engine because you would have all the videos of him picking her as his VP running mate. And I'm like, I don't want to see this shit. I want to see the wrestler. And then one of the things they mentioned was he had been in declining health for a good 15 plus years. He was diabetic. Originally, he had lost a couple toes, and he lost the full. Then he became a double amputee at his knees. High blood pressure. Diabetic. A lot of issues. He did contract COVID. I guess that maybe his dialysis center. And I guess that was something he just couldn't fight off anymore. But there are other reports that he had a heart attack at the facility he was at. So now, was it COVID? Was it COVID because of his prior health conditions, that he was high risk? Yeah. Or was it a heart attack? Well, they're gonna label it COVID if there's any chance of it. Of course they are.
So, give them more money. And now they're all crying poverty, these hospitals. I read the other day there was a hospital up here in New Hampshire that both my stepmother and my father went to. My father didn't end up dying at this one. They actually treated him pretty good. He went to the one in Concord, but the one local, the hospital, they put this guy under anesthesia, and it was supposed to be for a slip disc in his back, and they killed the guy. They made him brain dead because they didn't give him enough oxygen for a certain amount of time, and he died. So the family's suing and everything, and all these hospitals are crying poverty. And that one big case, that could really start wiping people out. Or insurance companies are going to be really struggling to provide policy. That's going to be the next thing. If they don't come up with a better health plan, all these insurance companies will refuse to provide good rates to hospitals and doctors because they're going to get sued left and right. But, yeah. Michael Chandler over Benson Henderson in the big Bellator fight of the week last week. The Mohegan Sun. This was one I did get to watch, and it was pretty stunning. He just got rattled, got knocked by a good punch, and Chandler did not slow down. 2 minutes and 9 seconds in, and it was over. And Henderson,
I don't think I've ever seen a switch. I don't think I've ever seen a switch quite like that.
Yeah.
How Chandler was able. What he did, Tony, was he was fighting conventional. He switched to southpaw, threw a punch or two, didn't land, but then he went back to conventional, and then switched to southpaw and came with powerful left hook, just like he was a natural southpaw. I've never seen anyone quite that smooth as that.
Yeah, now he's talking about being a free agent. He wants to explore the waters. And nothing better than to come out on a win like that. But, I don't know, he might end up back with the company that really put him on the map. We'll see. But Matt Mitrione got a little bit of a wake-up call against Timothy Johnson. TKO from punches, 3 minutes and 14 seconds into that one. Didn't look very impressive. Looked like it's probably time for him to think about wrapping it up. Timothy Johnson isn't...
Now, remember, to be fair, there was a headbutt that started that.
Yeah, definitely. The first part of the fight was kind of sketchy. But it didn't really land like a purposeful headbutt, It was more knocked him off balance.
No, I don't think it was intentional, but Timothy Johnson, again, an example of physicality. I mean, when a guy's that big, strong, I mean, his technique may not be perfect, but big heavyweights don't need perfect technique.
Matt Mitrione is used to having bad luck.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. You're right.
He's always dealing with these situations. But, he gave it a little bit of an effort. But, Timothy Johnson just... he's a weird-looking dude. It's very hard to judge how he's going to come at you and, how athletic he is. He looks a little bit like Charlie Bronson from that movie. Not the movie Charles Bronson that we know about. He looks a little like the criminal. Yeah. Charlie Bronson, the criminal, from that. I forget what the hell that movie was, but anyway, yeah, he looks just like him. Anyway, Miles Jury also got a win, split decision, but I thought he did a lot better than that. I don't know what that other judge was looking at. Over Georgi Karakhanyan. He just basically kept his distance and fought a very smart fight. Karakhanyan had a little bit shorter reach, so he just couldn't get in range. And that was the difference. We had Sabah Homasi over Curtis Millender by unanimous decision. Adam Borix over Mike Hamill. Again, a split decision there. Chris Lencioni over AJ Agazarm. That was a unanimous decision. There was something with that fight. There was some story about that. I don't know why. Some red flag in my head is written, and I don't even know why. Yeah, something I read about that. But I don't know. Something about the judging maybe was off. Valerie Loreda over Tara Graf by knockout. Must have been at the end of the second round. 5 minutes of the second round. Grant Neal over Hamza Salim by unanimous decision. And second fight of the night, Charlie Campbell over Nainoa Dung. TKO from leg kicks. 1 minute and 42 seconds into round 2. You gotta look Sherdog now. They got pictures of people on their fighter profiles with masks on. Because they're getting them at the weigh-in. Take your picture off. Take your mask off for the picture, please. They should be saying. But anyway, yeah. First fight of the night, Dalton Rasta over Mark Gardner. That was a TKO doctor stoppage at the end of round 1. And the big one. We're going to have to really polish the crystal ball for this one. UFC 252. Tom's boy, Stipe, going for one last crack at Cormier. Chop down the big wrestler. And word is that he's on a diet too, the wrestler. Trying to slim down for this one a little bit.
Well, I've been watching UFC Embedded, and Stipe is as ripped as I've ever seen him. He's already practicing golf. I guess he's got his retirement all planned, and he went to one of those indoor ranges where you hit the golf ball into a net, and I guess it shows how far it would go, or all that high-tech stuff. But Stipe really looks focused, really looks drilled in, really looks prepared. Our former guest, Forrest Spence, was helping him train. Have you seen any of those embedded trips?
No, I probably haven't watched one of those in like almost a year now. Jeez, I gotta wait a minute. I really need to develop my YouTube too. I mean, I'm way behind the 8 ball there. I think they tried to like suspend me for a few days because of some of my Ring Girl videos. I don't even know. I'm back online there. I gotta check. I'm pretty sure I'm past the danger zone, but yeah, I gotta get on board with that kind of stuff. Get more guests on the show too, for sure. But we automatically post the show to YouTube, so I have content on there. We don't have any actual video content. It's just a logo up there, and then our show in the background. But anyway, we've got Stipe versus Daniel, and this is going to be a barn burner, I think. 5 rounds. Stipe is the champion. Cormier is the retiree coming back, basically, to fight again. And Daniel has gotten the nod in the past fights, and there's been a lot of controversy with his fingers in the eyes, number one. And number 2, he's just got himself in a lot of good positions with the wrestling, and kind of minimized a lot of Stipe's ability to hit you with the straight right and wipe you out, and also use the entire cage. And basically, Stipe is the kind of fighter that likes to walk you down, and sometimes it's to his detriment. Most of the time, it's to his benefit.
Most of the time it works. Well, I think what he's going to have to do this time is just because that first fight, for the first couple rounds, his feet were in cement. I mean, it was just his movement was just not there. But I know he's addressed that because I got some spies from the gym, so I know he's really been working on mobility and maybe a little more of a body attack because Cormier fights like the money with his hands up, and it's going to be interesting to see because Cormier has already said he's going to wrestle fuck. That's the plan. And I think Cormier would be happy to do that for 25 minutes and just win a boring decision.
Yeah. So
Stipe's got to deal with that. But I think that if he can work that body and lower that those fingers, because you know how Cormier comes forward, just that way he comes forward with his fingers out there looking for the eye pokes, it leaves his body open. So Stipe's going to have to go to the body earlier than he did. I mean, he waited until the fourth round to do it last time.
Get under that gut and break some ribs. If he's losing weight, that's a good strategy because the ribs will be more exposed. But he won't be used to that.
Well, maybe, but you can also say that the guys with the big belly can't take body shots either because all that blubber's being pushed back into their organs. So kind of ways.
Yep. So we'll see. We'll see what kind of weight Daniel comes in at, and we'll see how Stipe looks after the prep for this. He's got a lot to show for. Like he really has a grudge match going here. And they pretend like they're friends, but there's just got to be a little bit of hatred underneath there for each other.
Well, that's kind of faded away. They were very close. In fact, I was just reading an article that when Cormier came back to do one of the UFC insiders came back here, and he went over to the fire station where Stipe works at, and all the guys were just so happy to get pictures of. Now they're all regretting it. A lot of it's not the fact that Stipe lost; it's the dirty fighting.
Yeah.
But, Cormier's never even been penalized for all those. There's been probably double-digit high pokes. Now, whether they're delivered or not, I don't know. I don't know what someone's thinking, but it sure does look awful.
John Jones does the same thing, and I think Cormier was a victim of
it. What do you think, Cormier?
That's how he learned it.
That's where he learned it.
Yeah.
That's where he learned it, and I think that's where some of the bad blood's at, and then the fact that Cormier didn't want to give Stipe a rematch. But in that case, I can see why Cormier wanted to fight Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
And it's the money fight. Come on.
Right.
So I kind of see how that happened, and so then Stipe didn't want to give him the immediate rematch. So I don't think they'll ever be back this way again. But this way it goes.
All right, so you're picking Stipe. What's the result?
Yes, sir. I do think both guys are going to be gut checked. But I think as long as Stipe have some semblance of takedown defense, I mean, he is going to be on the ground. He knows that. He's going to have to hold his own there and just show some better foot movement and really get that strategy and work that body. And I think by the fourth or fifth round, he can wear him down because I think if it goes to the judges, Stipe's going to have a hard time.
All right,
because Cormier's the house fighter.
I'm gonna go on your side this time. I'm gonna go with the Tom Faith, and I'm gonna say Stipe by knockout from a knee. I'm gonna call it that close. I'm gonna say he's gonna knee him.
Okay.
On a takedown defense. That's gonna be his takedown defense. It's a knee to the side of the head. Out cold. Done. I see it. Your crystal ball just beamed to me. But if I'm wrong, I'll blame it on that. Anyway, Sugar Sean O'Malley in the co-main event, working his way up the ladder pretty quickly there with his last statement win. Just a vicious knockout on the first round there. So he automatically, I believe he called out Marlon Vera at that fight or somebody, and they made it happen pretty quickly as the next fight. He's now ranked number 14 in the bantamweight division. And Marlon Vera is no joke. He's a tough guy. But O'Malley.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. If Marlon Vera would be knocking at your door. You know, he reminds me of some South American drug cartel hitman. You know, looking at Mr. Senor, you're the double cookie. You know, I mean, it's. It looks really don't matter when the fight starts, but still, he's got that aura. He's not a cheap date.
Yeah.
I mean, I think O'Malley can pull it off, but it's. I'm looking forward to it.
He's
really looking forward to that.
He doesn't even have to work hard to do his mean mug, unlike guys like Gilbert. Who am I thinking of? Who's the other guy? Gilbert. Not Sanchez. I'm thinking of another one. The UFC guy.
Gilbert Burns?
No, the UFC guy. Is it Gilbert Sanchez? I don't know. Anyway, there's a guy named Gilbert. Yeah, see, that's a hell of a mean mug. Who's the other one that does it? Why am I drawing a blank on it? Anyway, I'll probably think of it in the middle of the show. Next fight, Junior Dos Santos, another heavyweight bout, versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik, who pulled a knockout out of his rear end that one time, not too long ago. Probably one of his most famous fights. Almost went the distance, and he knocked out his opponent at the very last second. Junior Dos Santos, been a lot of wars. He's not very good with the defense. He's more of a, like Stipe, walk you down fighter, but he comes in with his hands low. And Rozenstruik,
and his chin,
is very
shaky. That's what I'm concerned about for him.
Yeah,
Rozenstruik is hard.
Rozenstruik is a little bit younger in the sport. He doesn't have a lot of mileage as far as fights, but I think he's a more natural talent as far as, not natural talent, but more physical. He's the more physical talent here. Junior is going to show his age in this fight, I think. It's definitely some setbacks from being in so many fights and fighting that way. I call it zombie fighting.
Yeah.
He gets into a lot of those exchanges where he gets popped and he's just punching to punch. He's not thinking. There's no thought process there. His mind is gone. Yeah, and I think he has been one of those people to admit that he's forgotten rounds of fights.
Yeah, Rich, I don't think he's ever been the same since the Velasquez fights. And then if that weren't bad enough, he had that war with Stipe back in 2014, and that was a brutal fight.
Gilbert Melendez.
I had Stipe winning a 3-2, but
that's who it is.
It could have went either way. But Dos Santos just really took a beating in that fight too. I mean, we'll see what happens here, but I don't see this one going too long. And I really like Junior Dos Santos too. I hate to say that, but maybe time for him to make his career. We'll see.
And then we have John Dodson, the king of speed, at bantamweight, and the backflips. He likes to do the backflips. Fighting Merab Divalishvili, number 12 versus number 15 there at bantamweight. And then we got a featherweight bout, Herbert Burns versus Daniel Pineda. And that's all we got on the main UFC card page. We got prelims. Jim Miller versus Vince Purcell at lightweight. That would be a good one. An old Ultimate Fighter guy versus just a journeyman type guy now. He's just up and down. He's just basically living on the name. He's been around so long. Jim Miller. Probably not climbing towards the title anytime soon, but they're going to give him fights anytime he asks for one. He always comes to fight. And then we got Felice Herrig. Looking at least in this picture, like she's a lot thinner here at strawweight. Fighting Verna Jandiroba. I never heard of. She doesn't have a ranking. And we got T.J. Brown versus Danny Chavez at featherweight, and another female fight, Ashley Yoder versus Lavina Souza, strawweight. And we got some boxing to talk about, of course. I watched a little bit of the Jamal James versus Thomas DeLorme fight. But like I said, I got
I
caught up.
was not home, so I did not. You saw more than I did.
Yeah, so like I was saying earlier, you get caught up in your phone. So I spent half the fight looking at my phone, but I was listening, and Thomas Dulorme, talk about speed, Dodson, just basically pulled a Meldrick Taylor for the first half of the fight, and he was just landing flush, here and there, but mostly just landing with speed. But Jamal James just was patient and waited, and then the last half of the fight I didn't really look up too much, but I could hear the announcers talking about how defensive Jamal James was transitioning in those last rounds. He was a better defensive fighter and really doing well, and nobody seemed surprised at the decision except for Thomas Dulorme. Who was probably the favorite to win this one, but Jamal James just kind of stole the show. He was better defensive, and obviously the judges thought he landed more meaningful punches, which sometimes happens when you're a speed puncher. It never looks like those punches land hard.
You're right. I mean, times like to go back to give a couple examples. The Sugar Ray Leonard Marvin Hagler fight, when Leonard was flaring in off the ropes in the last 10 seconds of each round, and that's when he was, stealing, some of those rounds from Hagler. They were impressive because they were fast, they were flashy. Go back to the Meldrick Taylor Chavez fight, like we talked about a little bit ago. When Taylor was firing out those, rapid fire combinations, they looked impressive. And they were, getting the judge's attention. Other times, what'll happen is, like, you throw a lot of those punches, and if your back is to, like, the one judge, and he might not be able to see them clearly, and they're not making sounds, it's hard to convince a judge that might not be able to see them. If you throw punches sometimes so fast, and the guy doesn't react to them, the judges might, not see anything. They might just see, it looks like you're arm punching. It looks like you're not doing any damage. Taking a look at the decision right now, it was like James won 116, 112, 115, 113, 117, 111. He won that, relatively comfortably. I've seen Dulorme fight. He has a split decision over my friend Hank Lundy. He has a TKA loss. His only loss, he had a few losses prior. But he had a title fight with Terrence Crawford where he got down 3 times and stopped. So, quality fighter, good fighter. He had a draw with Jesse Vargas, who's a tough character. Had a decision loss to Ugas. He fought quality guys. But you're right. Sometimes, you might be working, but you might not be effectively working. And looking at Jamal James, Jamal James only has 1 loss to Ugas, opponent there. But other than that, he's won all of his fights, and, he's fought some good fighters. Doesn't look like, much of a puncher. He's only got 12 knockouts and 27 wins. So for, him to be successful, he's going to really have to, be effective in boxing guys and outworking them and not letting himself get outworked.
Right you are, sir. And we had also last week, I made fun of his name, Lucas Santamaria. Pulled off, I guess, an upset over Michael Fox and won that fight. So I guess I offended him. Put fire under him. Santamaria. Brought the Nina and the Pinta with him. But, beat Michael Fox. Then we got Friday night fights, Friday the 14th this week, and a very, according to the main page on Box Strike, there's only 2 worthy fights on Saturday, but I think we'll find more. But we got some Friday night fights. How about this for a name? Over in the United Kingdom, Felix Cash, 12-0, fighting Jason Wellborn, 24-8 for the Commonwealth middleweight title. And you guys probably have heard of the little video game called Zelda, right? But I bet you never heard.
God, yeah.
I bet you never heard of anybody called Zelfa. At super featherweight, we got Zelfa Barrett, Zelfa. Zelfa is 23-1, fighting Eric Donovan, who's undefeated at 12-0 for the vacant IBF Intercontinental Super Featherweight title. And then Super Welterweights, Kieran Conway, 14-1-1 versus Naveed Mansouri, 20 wins, 3 losses, 2 draws there. And then we go to Kissimmee, Florida, Friday night on Telemundo. You can watch Ricardo Espinoza Franco at Super Bantamweight, 24-3-0. Fighting Brandon Valdez, or Valdez with an S, 13-0 for the World Boxing Organization Youth Super Bantamweight title. And then we might not have a Jesus fight of the week, but we have a Day Jesus. Jorge Day Jesus Romero, 17-0. Wow. Jesus is not going to need a miracle this week. He's fighting Daniel Lozano, who's 15-9. So Jorge de Jesus Romero, probably going to win that one. And we got another big opponent, Gustavo Molina. He is 24-22, rough career. Fighting Dominique Francis, who's 7-0 at the Super Bantamweight. Well, that's Friday night fights. Friday the 14th. We missed it by a day this month. So Friday the 13th. Alright, let's go to Saturday. See what we got. Connecticut. On Showtime, we have a super middleweight bout between David Benavidez, 22-0 at super middleweight, and Romer Alexis Angulo, 26-1 for the WBC World Super Middleweight title. And then we got the Somebody's O's Got to Go fight of the week. And that is Rolando Romero at lightweight, 11-0, fighting Jackson Marinez, who's 19-0 for the interim WBA World Lightweight title. And then the big one, former guest of the show, I believe we had him on at least once.
Yeah.
Travis Kaufman, and I watched the rematch with him live, and was talking to him in the comments. He was actually reading some of my stuff. I watched pretty much the whole card on his Facebook live feed of the Deontay Wilder.
I remember that.
The Deontay Wilder rematch there with Tyson Fury, and he was big on Deontay. I think he bet money on him. But anyway, he's fighting Otto Wallen now, who's 20-1, and he gave the biggest insult of all. Last I heard, he says, "I'm going to retire if I lose to Otto Wallen because his claim to fame is losing to Tyson Fury."
Well, Travis better not sleep on him.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
might be interesting.
Yeah, but he looks great. He had the corona himself, Travis.
Yeah, so did his father.
And he did a lot of running. I noticed he was talking a lot, when they talked about how some people were having residual effects and everything. When he was in the training camp, he talked a little bit about how he was having one day he was feeling great on his runs, and other days he would feel like shit. But I think, lately, especially the last few weeks, he really got deep into training, and he looks like he is really serious about this. He is making an effort and not just doing it for the paycheck here. He's trying to win this one.
He's come out and said, he goes, if I don't win this fight, he goes, I'm done, I'm retiring. Now, hard to say, because you can't say that as a cut-the-dry statement, because you never know what happens in a fight. You could have a great fight and not get a decision. You could have a fight that you're winning and lose on a cut. So, but I think that's his way of saying that hey, I'm going all in. I'm going all in. I'm putting all my chips out there, and this is the chance to make. I mean, Wallin only has one defeat. That was Tyson Fury last year, and he gave Fury a pretty good scare. I mean, not only with the bad cut, but also he definitely caught his attention with a few good left hands in the 12th round.
Right. Yeah, so we'll be rooting for Travis, and Otto can go.
And I know Travis is really, putting, a lot of emotion into this fight because he's dedicated it to brother Nazim Richardson, who was training him while he was the last guy that Nazim Richardson had trained before his passing.
Yeah. Yeah, big ups all the time. I see it on his story all the time, too. And giving props to him. But also on the card, another heavyweight matchup. Carlos Negron, 21-3 against Jonathan Rice, who's 13-5-1. And then we got the leadoff fight. It's pretty interesting, too. At super middleweight, we got Alantez Fox, who's 26-2-1, fighting Habib Ahmed, who's 27-1-1. And then we go down to Daytona Beach. Alberto Ignacio Palmetta headlining that one, 13-1 against Trayshawn Wiggins, who's 11-4-3. And then co-main event, Francisco Emmanuel Torres, 14-3 against Cleotis Pendarvis, 21-5-2. And let's see what else we got. Oh, Windham, New Hampshire. Jeez, I ought to be going to this one. I don't even know where Windham is. But our boy, Mark DeLuca, was the Italian Bazooka, is on this card. And Windham, he is 24-2, fighting Javier Frazier. Also, Mark was a former guest of ours. We had him on not too long ago, last year, I believe. Javier Frazier is 8-14-1, so this is obviously a tune-up fight for Mark. And probably the only local work he can get lately, but not much else on this card. It looks like, I don't know if this is the main event or not, but Rudy Ochoa, 9-0 against Augustine Mauras, who's 6-7-3. This is the best matchup on the card. And we got Kim Wabik at featherweight, 4-0-2, fighting Britton Hart, who's 3-4-3. So yeah, everybody else is pretty much an opponent. And then we have the big female fight. Cecilia Breakhus, 36-0, fighting Jessica McCaskill, who's 8-2 at welterweight for, get ready, the WBC, the WBA, the IBF, the WBO, and the IBO World Female Welterweight titles. We also have another one of those weird matchups where a guy comes in 5-0 at super welterweight against the guy who's 20-2, Eric Walker. 20-2 against Israel Madrimov, who's 5-0. I don't know if that 5-0 is deceptive or not. Is it a 5-0 with strippers as your opponents? Or is it a 5-0 with world beaters? We don't know. Thought there was another female fight too, but I don't know why that's not popping up. Anyway. We also have fights before the next show. I believe, right? 26th? Wednesday? What is next week? The 27th? Or is this the Tuesday after that?
No, the 27th is 2 weeks. It's
2 weeks.
2 weeks from today.
2 weeks from today. All right. So I guess that one's early. But this is the next one, one of the ones on the horizon. We'll be talking about next week. I might as well bring it up since we're on the page. Tim Tszyu fighting Jeff Horn in Queensland, Australia. It's really the only big fight on the card. I believe that's the Jeff Horn that beat Manny Pacquiao, right? Supposedly.
Yes, it is.
And Tim Tszyu, is that...
Got the win over Manny Pacquiao, you could say.
Tim Tszyu's got to be related to Costa, right?
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, he's 15-0.
Maybe it's a common name down there. I don't know.
15-0. TSZYU. I mean, I don't think anybody else spells it like that. I believe that's his cousin? I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But anyway, Jeff Horn is 20 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw. That's Wednesday the 26th. Queensland, Australia. By the way, supposedly New Zealand is one of the best countries to deal with Corona so far. As far as,
yeah. Well, we were last week, talking about, the bachelor party cancellation, and we were talking about different things, and we're like, yeah, what's the only country, apparently there's only one country that doesn't have Corona, and we're like, yeah, New Zealand. We're like, oh, we should all go there. They're like, no, they're not letting any people, like, they've completely closed the borders. Like, you cannot get in New Zealand. We're like, we got to try to act like we live there. And we're like, well, you still have a fake accent. They're like, oh, yeah, good day, mate. Someone's like, that's Australian. I'm like, shit. And someone's like, well, where do you live in New Zealand? And one guy's like, south. I'm like, north. We said it at the same time. We're like, shit. Like, Kangaroo Town.
Parachute in with a keg of beer. You'll be all set.
Yeah.
They'll welcome you with open arms. Yeah, so,
oh, yeah, they definitely welcome me.
Let's just check the Google updates. We just got them. James Fight Springs viewers up. 1,224,000 people watched that fight that you missed on Fox there, Tony. Jamal James.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
To the ratings. Alright, what else we got? We know the Jones Jr. match has been postponed. Unification fight has been agreed to. We haven't talked about this yet. Vasily Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez. A deal has been reached. This one has been back and forth for a while. So,
and that's going to be a free one. That's going to be on ESPN, October 24th.
Nice. Good time.
And good for Lomo. Good for Lomo for taking a pay cut to make it happen. Good for him.
Yeah. The last thing he wants to be labeled is somebody who ducks people. Let's see what it says for MMA here.
And Lomo's got to really be sharp that night.
Yeah.
Lopez can bang. So this is going to be a fun one.
One guy that can change it in one punch.
Right. Lomo's getting touched a little more. That's why this fight's intriguing. I mean, I still have to lean toward him. But I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't go his way.
Yeah, and then there's big news in Paige Van Zantland. We've got a big development in her career. She's going over to the bare knuckle circle. Made a deal. Promotional deal with Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. She had a tough last fight. She gave some flack to Dana White. Dana White gave some flack back to her. And now she's going to go just punch for a living over there in Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. But she does make a lot as a model, too, as well. So, everybody was thinking, well, she'll just go back to that and do that and make more money doing that. But you really got to like to fight if you want to just go over and do something like this. And of course, the number one retort of people that find out this news on little Facebook feeds or whatever is, oh, say goodbye to that pretty face. But, the thing that is a misnomer about bare knuckle is you really don't want to hit people in the face as much as you want to hit them in the body.
Right.
And maybe the side of the head or the cheek. You don't want to hit them in the nose. You break your damn freaking knuckles, the forehead. You really want to get them on the side of the head with one big shot, not repeatedly, because you don't want to be punching the skull so many times. Or you want to get them right on the cheek. Basically, that's it. Everywhere else hurts bad, especially if you hit them in the teeth. I would think. Not even a guy who's ever had an experience with it either. Like, I don't even like to hit the bag without gloves on. So, yeah, it's going to be a culture shock, I think, for her. But more power to her. She still wants to fight. Dancing with the Stars wasn't enough to get her out of it. And, getting out of the UFC is not enough to discourage her. So, yeah, I'm going to say good job until she proves me wrong. I think it's a smart move. But we'll see. We'll see if it is one of those things that is good for her or bad for her style. One of those things that definitely helps the situation is there's not a lot of women doing that, So not only are you going to a smaller pond, but you're going to a pond where really nobody's been swimming in for a long time, since the 1800s. I don't even think women did it then. Not for 75 rounds, anyway. But yeah, that's it, I guess, for my news. Unless you guys got anything else to lay on us?
No, I just sent you guys, well, Rich, you saw it, but I sent you the picture with Dominic in the shirt I bought him. With the Italian boxing on it.
Yeah, I saw that on Instagram already. Yeah, he likes it. He likes it. Hands up! He's got his hands up. He knows boxing already. Keep your hands up. Gotta protect the face, though.
Right.
You got the face in the picture. You gotta put the arms to the side. But looks like he's ready to do the karate kick when that pose.
Yeah. Well, one point when I picked him up, he was kicking back and forth, and he's getting falling off now that if he throws that kick the right way, it's going to hit me right in the nuts. I'm like, no, kid, stop kick.
Yeah. Uh-oh. He'll be a Muay Thai fighter.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's funny. All right, well, enjoy your quarantine. And we got some good fights this weekend anyway to watch. Doctor's orders. Stay in and wear your mask. Watch the fights.
All right, guys, enjoy the fight.
All right.
Adios. Till next week.